Ludicrous Feed is proudly sponsored by Carloop Data, Koba Car Insurance, and Wallbox EV Chargers. Okay, so next thing I want to try is the battery preconditioning, of course. Let's go back to the shortcuts page. So battery preheat, let's turn that on. And then we switch over to the power distribution screen, and there we go straight away. You can see that the battery is heating up. So we are forcing it to heat up and precondition so that the battery is nice and warm when we get to a DC fast charger. That's not a Tesla supercharger. And as you can see, I don't have anything on the nav. I'm not navigating to any Tesla supercharger. This is all real, all true. You can force the battery to precondition for a non-Tesla charger, which is fantastic. Hey everyone, TESLATOM here. Thank you so much for joining us. Today in this video, I'll be reviewing the Teslogic dashboard mount for Tesla Model Y, also compatible with Tesla Model 3 as well. And as it says on their box, let's make Tesla even better. We've reviewed the version 1 and it's worked very well, and I've even used it on road trips before. But with version 2, there's promise of being able to manually precondition your battery before heading to a third-party DC fast charger. So we'll see how well that works today. All right, so let's see what's inside the box. And inside the box here, very neatly packaged by the way, very small box. It's got a QR code to download the Teslogic Dash app for Apple as well as Android, and installation manuals are all there as well if you scan that QR code. Inside the box you'll get the actual dash mount itself to attach the MagSafe mount if your phone or device is MagSafe compatible. We'll attach that later on once we install this Bluetooth transmitter. You've got to attach this to the CAN bus of your vehicle. And we'll do that as well. In that slot will go the wiring loom, which is behind this packaging here. And that is the wiring loom there. So we'll go have a look at that in a second. And you also get a pry tool as well, which is very handy. And inside you've got some spare parts, like spare 3M tape, as well as a ring with adhesive to put onto the back of your device if it's not MagSafe, like an older device. And then this sticks onto the mount like that. That way if you've got a MagSafe device, or if you use this ring here to stick onto a device that's not MagSafe, you can then mount your phone or device onto that like that. So that sits literally onto the dash up there on the steering column, which we'll obviously install later on. Okay, so the first step is to look at the wiring loom. So this is what you need to install into your car on the side there. We'll show you how that's done in a second, but let's just undo this twizzle first. So that's the wiring loom. So this black part goes into the Bluetooth transmitter like that, once you're ready to go. And then this other end is basically a bypass or harness that sticks into your CAN bus for the Tesla Model Y or Model 3. All right, so let's get into it right now. So the first step is to undo the rubber sealing around the vehicle. That's quite straightforward. Just pull it apart like this. I recommend pulling up to about there, and then you can just slot it there just to get it out of the way like that. And then the next step is to undo this one, this panel here. And to do that, you just use the pry tool that came with the package. So that should just slip out like this. Okay, so that heard that click, that comes off from there, and you just slip it out like that. And that's easily replaceable after you've finished installing. Okay, put that to one side, and now you want to undo that fasten there, that little black fasten. And again, pry tool, stick that in there, and just pull it forward like that. And of course, keep this safely to one side. That's important. And then this should just slip out like this. Okay, so next step is to undo this flap here. So again, pry tool, trusty pry tool. Push that forward and keep that to one side again. Now you'll see all the way inside there, you'll see that blue port there that my pry tool is touching. This is where you need to stick the wiring loom into. That part of the wiring loom needs to go into the blue port right there. So let's do that right now. Hopefully you can see that. So just one swift motion and just clicks in there, and that's nice and secure. That's where it goes into the CAN bus port. And then these two there is basically to bypass this harness. And keep in mind to turn your Model 3 or Model Y off from the infotainment screen, just for safety reasons. Make sure it's turned off. Now, you want to undo this port here, or this plug. So again, just slips out like that. There's a little plastic bit there that just pushes forward, and then the whole thing slips out. Don't pull anything by the wires if you can help it. Just pull it out by the plastic bit, and then the original one goes into the female part of this loom, like that. Click. And then the new male part goes back into the female socket. Okay, so click, we're in. Okay, then you want to plug the black plug into the actual Bluetooth transmitter from Teslogic, in like that. Okay, so pro tip, before you hide the unit away inside the car there, I suggest flicking the switch at the top here, active control at the top of the box. You need to switch that from the off position to the on position, and you'll need something sharp and small, so I suggest maybe getting something like this. This is the the usual SIM card pin that they give you to get the SIM card out. Okay, so there we go. We'll flick that to the on position. See that red light pop up. We can now activate shortcuts in the Teslogic app and use functions like the battery preconditioning function to precondition your battery for third-party DC chargers. And then you want to tuck this into somewhere neat under there. So underneath all this wiring, there's space for it down here, see? Just in that little pocket there. Plenty of space. All right, on the floor. Then you can secure everything back the way you found it. Same clip as we took out earlier. Okay, so that's fastened. Clip it in. Boom, that's pretty much how you found it. And then we want to put the long piece back. Clips in like this. Okay, so that's in place now, and then we put the fasten back on. We're in, and then clip it in. All right, so that's in, good. Back into where it was. Then I'm going to put this panel back, so line that up with that slot. Slip it in there, and then push it in. Okay, boom, clip, and we are back. And the last job is to put the seal back on. So start from the seat side. Okay, I'll line up with the metal. Okay, so that's good. That's all back to where it was. Okay, so now that you've installed the hardware, the next step is to install the mount, which will sit obviously behind the steering wheel here. That way you've got a display of the speedometer just behind your wheel. And I find the easiest way to do this is to actually put the magnet behind your MagSafe phone first. And that way you know exactly, see that's the magnet piece that comes with it. So that goes onto the MagSafe part of the phone. And then basically you stick that mount onto the magnet once you remove the 3M adhesive, and that way you know exactly how far the distance is from the mount to the phone before you stick it onto the dash right there. Okay, so I've lined up the mount exactly where I want it on the phone, and just you can see on my particular phone it's just clear of the volume buttons, and that way you know exactly where your phone needs to sit on the mount. So do that first before you stick it onto the dash. So here at the back of the steering wheel, just between the stalks, we're going to stick it basically there. And of course you want to align it such that it's right in the center when you stick it down. Okay, and there we are. I've stuck the mount down, and when I remove my phone, voila, there's the Teslogic logo. And I forgot to say too that make sure you've got that upright when you do that first step by sticking it on your MagSafe case or your phone. And that way you have the Teslogic in the right position when the phone is not there. And Teslogic have thoughtfully included a magnet ring in case your phone or device does not have MagSafe at the moment. You can use that to stick onto your phone or your case, and then via magnet you can mount that onto the Teslogic mount. And of course, to err as humans, so Teslogic have kindly included a few spare adhesives just in case you mess it up. Now you can also purchase a wireless charging kit separately as well, which in my original Teslogic video I showed that, but I don't have it on this occasion. But essentially it's a lead that runs by a wireless charging mount, and then you can run it just behind the dash there, behind the screen, and then just down here under the center console, and then all the way under here, and then you can just plug it into the USB ports under the air conditioning vents. So when you start up the Teslogic app, it'll say transmitter found, connecting to device, and it'll either go to light or dark mode depending on the time of day, of course. And yeah, the stats pretty much match up with the car. So 86% here, and then you've got on my car 86% right there. And then if you tap the 86, you get battery remaining 48 kilowatt hours, or range remaining as well. So that's cool. And obviously speedometer is there, and the last red speed sign is there as well. And then you've got the projected range once you start driving, and then the rated range, and there's my odometer as well. I'll just go through some of the key settings here. So you can match the brightness with the Tesla screen with offset, and then you can set the brightness to 0% when leaving the car for standalone installations. So you could actually have an old phone or even just a dedicated device for the speedometer, and then you can set that to 0% so that it's not on when you leave the car. And then you can also customize the order of the screens. So when you flick between them, you can customize which screens you want in which order. And what's interesting too is under miscellaneous, you've got constant blind spot monitoring, so that the orange side warning when the car is in a blind spot, as opposed to the Tesla native screen, you'll only get that warning when you put the indicators on, whereas with the Teslogic you've got that all the time, which is nice. And then you can also have parking sensors for blind spot monitoring as well. So I guess it's only for cars like this Tesla Model Y that still has ultrasonic sensors. You can pop that on so that it uses the parking sensors for blind spot monitoring as well. So that's handy. You've actually got some interesting metrics here. So you've got the G-force meter, you've got the horsepower meter, and then you've actually got timings as well, 0 to 60, 0 to 100. So that's quite a nifty feature. So this screen I quite like. So this is the power distribution graphic where it's showing what the current allocation is in real time. So for example, right now, only 0.3 kilowatt is being taken from the battery, and most of it is going to the lights actually, and some to climate control as well now. This is interesting, the battery heating, we'll go through that very shortly. And then you've got some stats for the vehicle, about this Tesla, about the car itself, about the battery, 2.6% degradation in just under a year, which is still in the green zone, which is great. And it looks like we've fast charged only 21% of the time, and 42% has been saved with regenerative braking. Lifetime daily consumption 7.3 kilowatt hours per day, and the lifetime energy consumption is 148 watt hours per kilometer, so pretty efficient there. Okay, so let's go through some of the shortcuts, which is a fantastic feature of Teslogic 2. So you've got battery preheating, which is what we're all here for, where you can force the car to heat the battery on the way to a non-Tesla DC charger. We'll demonstrate that very shortly. And the Teslogic app recommends that you activate it 20 to 30 minutes prior to charging at a third-party DC charging station, and it'll just deactivate itself after a 30-minute timeout, which is also very handy. Chill kickdown is if you always drive on chill, but if you were to press the throttle more than 80% for 2 seconds or more, it'll revert back to sport mode for at least 30 seconds. After that, it'll automatically go back to chill mode. And then the next three, I guess, are more for cold climates, like snow ice mode. It'll distribute the torque evenly between the axles in 50-50 ratio, just to reduce skidding in sleet and snow. Same with slip start mode, allows the wheels to spin a bit for loose surfaces like gravel or snow. And the next one is winter wipers parking. If you don't want your wipers to get stuck, then you want to park the wipers to service position when cold. And you can also set what the threshold is for that to happen. So for example, anything from -20 to 10 degrees Celsius, which is a really handy feature for cold climates. Anti-speed ticket limit, so restrict the power of the motor when the speed of the vehicle exceeds the current speed limit, plus the user threshold to prevent any fines. The power limit can be overridden at any time by pressing the accelerator pedal beyond 50%. Okay, well that's sort of self-control mode there, I guess. And then regen braking, now this is cool because there are some people who don't like the heavy regen braking and the one pedal driving in Tesla, Some people have reported to me that it makes them sick. If that is the case, then you can actually turn on regen braking control here, and then you can set what regen value you like. So anything from 0, which is basically no regen, all the way up to 100% back to normal. So that's a pretty cool feature as well. We might test that out later today too. And then Teslogic track mode. So you've got different select traction control mode options: slip start, track, dyno, slippy road, drift. Okay, so I don't spend that much time on the track, but that is useful for if you go around the track with your Tesla. So the two main features I'm going to test right now is battery preheating and also regen braking as well. So stay tuned, let's go test those. Oh, one more thing too is if you want to quickly go to the shortcuts menu as opposed to having to flick like this, not too good when you're driving. You can also switch between screens by using the right scroll wheel to do that. But of course, just beware, if you're doing that, you're also going to be changing the follow distance of the leading car ahead. All right, the first thing is to demonstrate the regen braking control on this thing. And so currently I've got it on 100%, as you can see, but you can reduce it down to like 0, like that. And let me tell you, it's pretty much in real time, because if I let go of the accelerator, I'm coasting. There is no more regen. It's a really strange feeling, actually. Well, not strange, but it's like almost like an ice car again. In fact, it is. In fact, coming up to this bump now, oh, I had to use the brake again. Yeah, so I guess if you are intolerant of the one pedal driving, then you can actually just bring it up to whatever level you want. So that's kind of like 50-ish%, 51% right there. And then that way you can have sort of that, in some of the EVs I drive, what they call level 2 or level 1 or whatever, different levels of regen braking. And that's good as well, because currently with the current software version, you can't actually turn off regen braking in the Tesla Model 3, Model Y. All right, let's flick back to the main screen. Oh, by the way, you can also have the navigation there as well. But let's go back to the main screen there. There we go, that's the main screen. So there it is in action. That's pretty much the same as the infotainment system. That's quite handy if you really want to have like a display behind the steering wheel. Some people like that, I understand. That's okay as well. But you see how it's pretty much in step with the infotainment screen, which is really, really handy. Okay, so next thing I want to try is the battery preconditioning, of course. Let's go back to the shortcuts page. So battery preheat, let's turn that on. And then we switch over to the power distribution screen, and there we go straight away. You can see that the battery is heating up. So we are forcing it to heat up and precondition so that the battery is nice and warm when we get to a DC fast charger. That's not a Tesla supercharger. And as you can see, I don't have anything on the nav. I'm not navigating to any Tesla supercharger. This is all real, all true. You can force the battery to precondition for a non-Tesla charger, which is fantastic. And if we put the car into drive, it'll actually go up as well. So you'll see the power go up as we are driving around 3.6. And as I said earlier, it'll stay this way for the next half an hour before it turns itself off as a safety feature. And that is actually pretty cool. That is probably the main reason why I would get this product, for that forced or manual precondition of the battery, which is pretty handy actually. You see how I'm slowing right down, and it's, the battery heating has gone right down as well. When the battery's preconditioning, you'll see that there is the heat symbol as well right there in the corner. So that's also another handy cue for you too. And then it's easy enough just to turn it off like that. Easy. So I guess the question is, how does this compare with Tesla Supercharger preheating? Is it the same, power, same amount of energy going to the battery if you were to use the Tesla Supercharger preheating? So let's try that. So let's go to navigate here on the main screen. And let's do, it's already there for us, Supercharger Macquarie Park, which is our closest one. Okay, it's good to go. And preconditioning battery for fast charging. All right, so let's start driving and see what happens. Yep, there we go. It's starting to precondition as well. 2.9, 2.6. So look, I think it's you know, conditioning to the same amount that would otherwise happen with a Tesla Supercharger Preconditioning. So that's really good. I'm very happy with that, because that has been one criticism, that you know, you can't precondition the vehicle for non-Tesla chargers. So now we've got a solution, which is great. Alright everyone, well that is my brief review of the Teslogic 2.0, which I feel has greatly improved from 1 because of 2 reasons. The battery manual preconditioning, as you saw in my demonstration. You can now precondition the battery for a non-Tesla DC charger. And secondly, for the customization of the regen braking. Not everybody enjoys a harsh regen braking and one pedal that Tesla offers, so now you've got that option to customize the level of regenerative braking, which is fantastic. Just want to thank Teslogic once again for sending me this product to review, and I hope you've enjoyed that video. Until the next Ludicrous Feed video, happy charging.